Okay, so just. Oh wait, I'm gonna hang up the phone here. Hold on.
All right, Brad. So you still on the phone?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. Hopefully it's good to go, huh?
Yeah, put the office on me.
Can you all see my screen?
Hi, Dawes. I can hear you.
Okay, I just want to make sure everybody can see my screen.
Morning, everyone. We have Dawes Marlett on the phone with PGA of America, the Director of Education, and we're going to turn it over to Dawes now for the presentation this morning.
Great. Well, hi, everybody, and thank you for your time this morning to review this lifelong learning strategy that the PGA of America has invested a lot of time and resources in for your on the way. The title here, Aligning Talent to Careers, was essentially what we sought after in a whole bunch of discussions and focus groups right up front. What we wanted to talk about was how we could do our best to provide you all the resources necessary to showcase your value proposition to those that you serve, your staff, your customers, your employers, everybody that you represent in the golf industry along the way. So this was an exciting opportunity for us that involved, all the internal workings of the association. Primarily, though, the way we work with employment services very differently today than we have in the past. We set out to put a big focus group together to understand from our stakeholders exactly what was expected of our workforce at all the different levels in the association. And what we found out was there was a lot of competencies or a lot of skills required of you all. Those skills were critical skills that, again, allows you an opportunity to showcase your value proposition. It was unique because as we talked to PGA members, most of the members we talk to don't really enjoy bragging about themselves, their capability, their capacity to do the job, their point of differentiation that sets them apart. And so we put this strategy together in a way that would help organize career goals and position, again, as I stated previously, everybody for success. In the graphic that you all can see right here, it's a progression. Some of you have seen, hopefully many of you on the call have seen this progression, but it begins in the associate training program, also includes our university students and the 18 partners we currently have. As they work toward and through the PGM training toward membership, we felt this plan was really essential in aligning your aspirations around your career goals. What we learned in many conversations was that we didn't get people to the end game fast enough. And so we wanted to accelerate that in a very responsible way without compromising any standards. We start this process in PGM at level 1. Everybody takes what we call the core level, all the prerequisites to make the other career paths have the success that we hope they have. At level 2, all associates would choose a career path. And the 3 career tracks available to them is the very traditional golf operations track that includes everything that we all know it to include: business and game, teaching, coaching, and player development. The other career track is coaching, and the final career track is executive management. So they will take those career tracks on level 2 and level 3, and when elected to membership, have a unique opportunity then to go right into the specialized professional program and pursue or continue to pursue that career track. The unique opportunity that allows the association, especially in the employment world, is that we can now pool all of our talent in one of those 3 buckets. And so our employment services, our career consultants, can do a better job of identifying the talent and placing that talent throughout the industry to meet the career goals that everybody has established in their profile. So the next step is the specialized program, and then the certified program, and ultimately the master professional program. So that career progression, it was essential to align with your experience and your time on the job, and we customize it to your interest, which was really important because of our multi-generational workforce. We've got 29,000 people in our workforce in total at different stages of their career. And so we wanted to make sure that we did everything possible to help manage that talent from the time they got involved to the time that they choose to retire. And we also needed to make sure that we were paying particular attention to all the different decades that it currently exist in our workforce today. The first thing we wanted to find out, though, was what was it that the industry found most important that our workforce needed to know and be able to do. And so we call those things competencies. These skills that they would learn begin at the top of the screen here for everybody. Agility and flexibility was very important, and readiness and adaptability were very important. What we found out was that those 2 stood out among everything else because of the velocity of change that's taken place in our industry. So agility and flexibility, readiness and adaptability. Readiness meaning how ready are you to assume a new role, either in the employment picture that you currently have or the job you currently have, or assume a different employment role for a different facility type, a different golf business in the industry. And then, of course, you can read the balance of those things: supervising and delegating. We know how important that is, and we'll talk about that in a moment. How do you prioritize the things you're working on, your resources? How do you deal with challenges at work? How do you build and train teams? And then what always comes up is this notion of emotional intelligence, or EQ. And that's really important for the younger generations of today. But, you know, we're quite spoiled in golf. My position on this is, having seen thousands and thousands of golf pros every year, I think that we have the most talented golf professionals and the most talented workforce around. Our ability to communicate, our ability to create relationships, and our ability to act with integrity is above and beyond what I tend to see in other industries. The single thing, though, that we need to get better at, and we can all get better at it, is how do we monetize that relationship once we've formed it? We know how powerful loyalty is, and that lifetime value of the customer can be in any club, public or private, traditional or non-traditional, meaning green grass or non-green grass. And then certainly you can see those on the other side, from project management, strategic thinking, financial management, all the way down to diversity and inclusion. All these things are critical in putting a business together that is sustainable and continues to grow and expand the game of golf. This particular screen here just really looks at the 3 areas that I've talked about, the 3 career track areas and the subject matter areas supporting each one. So this information will be available to everybody, either through myself or through this webinar at any time. But we just wanted to segment the different parts and pieces for each of these career tracks, so you have a very clear understanding of what we're trying to deliver. And in the delivery of this, you'll be exposed to exactly how to apply it to showcase your value. How do you grow the top line of your business? How do you manage with great operational excellence So at the end of the day, everybody's getting what they need relative to their business goals. We all talk about how much change is going on in the world today. And I think this slide represents it quite nicely because, this is a rather old quote from the former Google CEO, but as you can see, information is doubling every day now, probably within the day itself. But the reality is we can all understand that, because if we ask ourselves some basic questions about how much change has taken place in our own lives, what and how the expectations have changed with you, your customers, your staff, your employer, how complex or how simple is your business process? What we hear is that the business processes are becoming more complex every day. Their resources are being more constrained. How do we allocate those resources in the most effective way is really essential through this timeline for all career track content that we'll offer you all. But we say change because we see it every day, and the amount of change that's taken place is really difficult for people to get their arms around. I think the younger generations that are growing up in this technological explosion or boom have a better idea of how to manage the technology, but they become very tech dependent. I don't know that they're real tech savvy, but they're certainly very tech dependent. And then we match that up with the older generations, and there just needs to be an element of respect on both sides, because it used to be the case that we would be able to have, through trial and error, the ability to learn and to share and to mentor and to advise. And given how fast time is moving today, I think a lot of that is becoming more and more scarce. So this is just a snapshot of where we used to be with Paul Runyon and Horton Smith and where we are today. This is just a snapshot of our education campus in Port St. Lucie, and then certainly where we'll be in Frisco, Texas, in less than 2 years' time. Just the evolution and the velocity of that change is pretty impressive, and it's our job to provide you all with the resources necessary to remain competitive. I think this really speaks for itself. This is a classic case of how unbalanced our lives feel from time to time. We need to make sure that we do our best what I often say, that this picture really represents, we're capable of doing a lot of things, but we only have the capacity to do so much. And so we need help. We need help from our teams. We need help from our businesses, quite honestly, everybody around us. And the challenge we face, I think, in most cases, is that our resources, our financial resources, are being constrained in such a way that it's difficult for us to hire and recruit the kinds of people that we expect to carry out our business initiatives. And so, I don't know about you all, but very often myself and my staff will work very hard throughout the day, feel like we're busier than we've ever been, and we'll get in our cars to go home and wonder to ourselves, gosh, we're super busy, but I don't feel like we got anything done. And I imagine many of you probably feel the same way when you get in your car at the end of the day. In other words, the transactional work that we do, we show up, we meet, we greet, we make sure that we provide to the best we can everything that our clients want. And then we repeat ourselves the next day, and we blink our eyes, and it's now the year is over. We blink our eyes again, and now a decade's kind of gone by. And so it's just an opportunity for us to really take a step back and reflect on what is it we're trying to do strategically for our own career, what are we trying to do strategically for our own business, and how do we manage all the things in a very strategical way and prioritize those resources that we have to make that happen, so that we don't get completely out of balance, as this picture would suggest. And again, this is very central to the competencies listed in the initial screen that I shared. And so through all this, what we wanted to do is we wanted to build credentials and opportunities for everybody so that they could show off their skill set, show off their achievements, and then celebrate those achievements along the way. Most of us work so hard day in and day out that often we don't reflect enough. We don't reflect on the things that we've done, the people we've met, the places we've been. And then, like I said, you blink your eyes and you skip a decade, and all of a sudden you wonder where the time went. What we hope to do in these workshops is bring people together of like interests within like career paths, and just have a conversation around all the course material and in a very collaborative way where people can benefit through just question and answer and conversation, and have it facilitated by experts who are looking to help support whatever challenges or whatever opportunities you see in your business place, and then fill whatever gaps you might have in your own logic or your own capability with some good training. In this particular case, we've taken our specialized professional program and we've packaged it in a way that we can deliver to sections and allow a 2-day scenario to exist, so that when you leave, you're essentially completed with everything that's expected of you, with the exception of 2 things. One, there's 10 courses that you would still have to complete, but they're all electives, and we would be foolish and irresponsible to choose those electives on behalf of yourself, because we don't know what it is that you'd like, and we have a course library of more than 100 courses that you could click on. You know, it's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can click on those courses and take whatever you need away from those. So following the workshop, you would need to finish those 10 elective courses for yourself. And then the final thing that you would need to do is complete a reflective paper. Basically, the paper is a shortened paper that asks you to apply what you learned within the coursework, specifically in the context of your job. Because what we want to do in all this is we want to achieve 2 fundamental outcomes. One, how can we get you to create greater job impact, and how can we improve your overall performance, or, you know, certainly assist you in both of those things. There's no guarantees on any of this. But the takeaway from these workshops are always very good. We have a tremendous simulation that you'll take that we'll talk about in just a little bit, that it's a risk-free environment. But when the workshop's over, we measure everybody through a third party, and we have yet to have anybody disappointed in their overall experience as they go through this thing. So again, the section-based workshops, it's a 2-day experience. We go through all the course material required of you. When you're finished, the only thing you have remaining are the 10 elective courses and a reflective paper that you would write, submit to us online. It would be peer-reviewed, and we get back to you with our feedback. And the cost of that is $350, and that registration fee allows you access to this for an entire year. Here are the steps along the way that you'll see online when you click on there. We want to keep this as simple as possible. Again, the first thing you're going to have to do, you'll register, you'll select your career path. It'll point you exactly to, once you select your career path, it'll drop you right into the coursework that's required, and then the larger library of electives that you'll have access to. And then the final thing there is, many of you have heard about our American Development Model, or PGA.coach. Has been very exciting for us. You would click on that and complete that certificate as well. So when you finish this, you get a certificate from the PGA specializing in whatever career path you choose. You finish a PGA.coach or ADM, American Development Model certificate, and you're on your way toward specialization. This particular step doesn't require any experience other than being an active member of the PGA. Some of the things that we walk everybody through in the coursework is all very interactive. We know that adults learn by doing, and we also know that the value proposition is one that's exciting, entertaining, and educational. And so we walk you through some very sophisticated teaching and coaching examples, revenue management examples, and as I mentioned, we've got several simulations that you can play time and time again, and we've got 2 simulations that are played within a team environment. And those simulations are one's in the public sector and one's in the private sector. So those are things that you would choose ahead of time before you would register for the section opportunity, because we want to tailor make all of these presentations to best exceed your expectation along the way. From a teaching and coaching standpoint, this is our current view of our education center in Port St. Lucie. Some of you have been through this and seen it, and others of you have not. But more so than the technology, we really help everybody understand what the technology represents, what the feedback represents, and how best to leverage this for those that you are coaching along the way. And then certainly, how do you use this information in a way that you can share with your employer everything that you're doing to drive that top line growth? From that perspective, what we learned from every employer that we talked to, and there's been no exceptions to the rule other than some really high-end private clubs, but even they are looking for much of the information that's listed on this screen today. They all want to know, how do we acquire more members and customers? And so how does that really work? And all of our content is really focused around, how do you build a clientele? How do you build the relationship, and how does the relationship transition into this loyal clientele that really expands the business and provides greater opportunity for you and all the things that you choose to do? How do you look at this in a way that we increase the number of visits, increase their overall spend, and ultimately, from a lifetime value of the customer, strengthen their loyalty so that they choose you when they're looking to spend money or they're looking to utilize their time. They're going to come to you before anybody else. We all know the industry is a very noisy place. And how do you stand out? How do you get a consumer group or an individual to think about you before anybody else when they're making a choice on where to invest their time and money? We talk about strategy for all of those kinds of opportunities in the material that we've discussed. Very specific to how do you manage your revenue, we built 5 individual courses that are very, I would say, very summarized and easy to understand. The point of much of this is as much to help you communicate to your employers, help you communicate to the people you serve on your team, to raise the bar for everybody to get better, to understand the content, to understand the options, to understand the opportunities. And in this particular case, revenue management is something relatively new to the golf industry, although now we've been at it about a decade, and there's obvious examples of companies and programs that are really, leaving an impact along the way. So we look at these 5 areas that you'll have an opportunity to click on. Very interactive, video host driven, and it just provides the essence of the most important things that you're going to want to see. The business simulations from a team perspective are shown here, where you work in teams, you analyze data, you make decisions, you compete for market share, and quite honestly, you're looking at the overall enterprise of the business. Up until this time, most of our training really centered around the department of golf. What we've learned is that the more influence that you can have, the greater opportunities you have to pursue other more lucrative positions, whether it's director of golf or general management or COO type positions, or an ownership stake in a golf club or a golf business that you might have. So these simulations provide you an opportunity to work within a team, examine either a public or private facility, figure out how you best compete for market share, and make numerous decisions around the business within this strategic formula that maybe you don't have an opportunity to do today, or maybe you do have an opportunity to do it today, and it just helps you reconfirm what it is that you thought you know, and then strengthen areas that maybe you weren't quite as certain about. But what's cool is it's a risk-free environment, and you can make some mistakes, and if you don't like the decision or the series of decisions that you made, you just start over and see if you can optimize your performance in a different way using different decisions. So it's been an exciting opportunity for us, and again, the collaboration that exists in this particular area has really been something well beyond our imagination. Consumer engagement is the essence of really everything that we do. It's often said the most important people in any business are, of course, the staff, because without the staff, the business doesn't run. But the next most important person is the customer. Without a customer, we don't have a business, and it's our goal to drive our businesses forward in the most lucrative, most profitable way possible. And everybody measures and manages success differently, so you all have your different metrics. But your private club, maybe it's satisfaction. But to some degree, I'm sure profitability, even in a nonprofit club, comes into some discussions at the board level from a sustainability standpoint, from an innovation standpoint, from a capital investment standpoint. On the public side, it's all about the bottom line. And what we really look to do is help everybody understand how do you grow the top line of the business to provide the most runway possible for some new innovative investments along the way. And so what we talk about is building that relationship, trying to align it very specifically within the generations and the segments that you all know better than I do on this call, and then exceed those expectations every chance we get. And what we talk about is that everybody that comes in is a potential consumer, but once they buy something, they become a customer of yours. And when you see, if you do that part right and you align the features and benefits of your products just right to that customer, when they make that purchase, they're going to be satisfied and hopefully come back. And when they do start to come back in that repeat business, we call them clients. And then ultimately those clients, when they're suggesting your place of business to others, become loyal partners along the way. And that's the most valuable progression that we can help everybody understand. And it's a model that's often used by the highest performing businesses that we study and that we hear from. In addition to the team-based simulations, we have 10 individual simulations. And these two areas were really critical areas when we built these simulations, because you all told us collectively across the country that the two areas that really stand out to those that you serve, and all that means from a stakeholder perspective, is leadership and financial management. So we built 10 individual simulations. Again, you can play these as many times as you want to. They exist for the $350 library that you would pay for in the registration process, that you have access to for one full year. And what we wanted to make sure was that we weren't blinded by our own ambition, and we tried to tear down any blind spots anybody would have. And so how do we improve sales? How do we create loyalty? How do we look at all of our segments, especially juniors and women, in ways that we can help expand our businesses from? We all know about the power of the female influence, certainly within the buying decisions of the household. And quite honestly, in the world we live in today, they're really looking for the safest, most exciting opportunities for the children. And we think golf is a wonderful place to do that. We just have to figure out how best to get the message out, because of the invitation that most moms require and most women would look to give golf a shot. And then how do we do the essential things? Develop, mentor, and coach talent. We all know that's important, because again, if we get in a scenario like the slide I showed you, where the carriage was off, the horse was off the ground, or the donkey was off the ground, and we're all out of balance, we need to build and train our teams. And it's probably, for many of us on the call, the one area that's we're in constant pursuit of. And then the business impact of teaching. We know how powerful that happens to be, especially from a value proposition of yourself. And then from a private club or even some public facilities, how do you drive that membership sale in a very loyal way? And the financial management, again, these are all areas that the employers said to us. So when we put a subject matter expert team together, it was made up of a variety of different people inside and outside of golf. We also had all the executive search firms in. And so we asked them, what are the employers really looking for? Again, this is all about you, the member, and how we can provide the most high quality service to you so that you can differentiate yourself along the way. These were the financial areas that really jumped off the page when they began to talk about the things. If only a golf professional could do these things, there'd be no competition for them, because they've already got all the golf acumen. But once they understand the financial management side of things, they would be in a very strong position to compete for any job at any level. And you all can read the different titles that exist there, from capital budgeting all the way down to financial dashboard and revenue scorecard management. And so the revenue scorecard management is just a simple area that we say, hey, look, you're very influential in your place of business. And so you might have plenty of programs that you've created over time. You may implement programs from the national office, but if you don't communicate the success of that program and its overall influence to the bottom line, nobody really knows. And there was some famous dialogue that took place in the Golf 2.0 strategy days about 8 years ago, when we hired the Boston Consulting Group to come in and help us understand how do we expand the game of golf? How do we look at it differently? How do we engage all of our professionals? And they talked to 100 employers, the highest ranking person in the employment side, and they said, does your staff do player development? 100 out of 100 said no. We talked to the same highest ranking PGA professional associated with that employer who said no, and we asked those professionals, do you do player development? And 100 out of 100 said yes. So how can 100 out of 100 say yes from a PGA perspective while the other group says no? Obviously there's a gap in the communication that exists, and we can all get better at that, and we know that this financial management area will help you do that. Just a couple of quick snapshots of what you would see when you went on. This is just an example of what the individual simulation looks like. There's a number of outcomes that you get, and you can play this many, many times. We have people all the time. We'll look at some profiles just from a secret shopper perspective to see how much engagement we've gotten. My team's seen people that go through these things 30, 40 times looking to optimize the choices that they made along the way. So they're very engaging. And then the next step in this lifelong learning process, as I alluded to in my opening remarks, was the certified professional program. The biggest difference between this and what you may have heard about the CPP program in the past was the years of experience in the career path. And so you need to have 5 years experience now, when before, as an active member, you could just sign up. This was a really critical decision we made, given all the feedback from the employers, the executive search firms, and the very influential PGA members, longtime successful PGA members of our industry. They requested that we have, a better alignment experience along the way, because this was an area where now, from a career services perspective, we can gather all of our talent in the career path and begin to promote one person over the next. And what we know is that the employers really are sincere about finishing what you start. They're sincere about having, college education. They don't necessarily care that you went to one college versus the next, but that you did go to college, that you did earn the credential, but really that you finish what you start. And then the other thing we found out was they're really eager to understand, chances that you may have taken, and particular setbacks that you may have experienced, or failures that you may have experienced. And then what did you do beyond that to overcome that? That seems to be an area that they're really, really intrigued by. And so the certification program now will look at your job, your future job. We've built in some credentials along the way to help you apply what it is that you learn, and really learn from some of those mistakes, and then understand how you can bounce back from those mistakes in ways that accelerate your career opportunities. A few things that stand out in this opportunity: we just built a brand new online technology platform. So it's a very intuitive. For those of you who went to the merchandise show, we rolled it out in the Member Business Center. You log on line to PGA.org, you click on education, and it walks you right through these steps in a very seamless way once you've completed specialization. Once you're in there, from an executive management perspective, we've got a very unique opportunity for everybody to complete a certificate in executive management from UNLV, and they were the #1 hospitality school in the world the last, not the last couple years, but the 2 previous years. And so the reason I bring that out is because you have an opportunity to complete a certificate from a world-class school that's co-branded with the PGA of America, and it only costs you $350 to do that. If you were to go to that institution on your own outside of the PGA and pursue the same opportunity, it would be thousands and thousands of dollars, $15,000, $16,000, $17,000, we're told. On the coaching side, there's an opportunity from Penn State University that looks at biomechanics and technology in a very unique way. And then we've got others that we're working on right now that will be embedded in this process as well that we're excited about, but not complete to the point at which we can communicate it. But it's a streamlined 4-step process from beginning to end in the certification area. So you get certified by the PGA of America on one of those 3 career tracks. You earn certificates along the way within that certification that gives you an opportunity to strengthen your resume and showcase your skills to the employers for those jobs that you're looking for. And if you're happy staying in your own job, just showcasing your value proposition to those you serve in ways that exploit your continual pursuit of excellence. And then as we round it up, quite honestly, in the Master Professional side, we don't have a lot of Master Professionals in the history of the PGA, but we do have just slightly over 400 in total. Some of those members have since passed away, but it was a program established in the late 60s, 1968 or 69. And so it's unique and really requires a great deal of experience. You'll see there, one of the adjustments made in this new rollout was that you have to be employed for 10 years in the career path and a member for 10 years in that career path. Again, just trying to trace your trajectory within your career with the opportunities to showcase all the things that you've done in a very structured and demonstrated way. Certainly you have to be certified, and then we look to the other guidelines. We look to see how you've mentored, require some mentoring along the way, because what we hope to have happen is create a leadership opportunity for yourselves in such a way that people want to follow you and you can inspire them to do great things as well. And then, you know, as there is in certification, as you saw on that screen, there's continuing education requirements also. But I guess as I wrap things up for everybody here, in conclusion, what I wanted to make sure everybody is very clear on is that we want to, couple of the goals we have, to assist our pros to achieve their career goals, whatever that happens to be, and whatever we can do with our resources to make that happen. Our quest is to do that, to exceed expectations, and to position our game and, quite honestly, this overall industry in the most attractive light possible to recruit talent. We know that many of you are seeking talent, capable people that can help you out and grow your business and support your business goals and your strategic imperatives and so on. And then we want to share a positive and exciting narrative about the opportunities that exist in both traditional and non-traditional jobs. One of the things that we often hear is that we have professionals share that they wouldn't encourage their children to follow in their footsteps. We need to make sure that everybody understands the unique opportunities that exist that are slightly outside of what they've always done. We want to bring the enjoyment and excitement back to the game of golf, so that in a few years down the road, if we ask that question again, we're going to have more hands go up saying, absolutely, I'd love to have my children pursue careers in this industry, just the way we all did. We were excited to do it, and that's why we're here. So we need to kind of reset our minds a little bit about how we communicate this great game to people. And so with that being said, that concludes what I wanted to share online, and I'll turn this over to I guess the gentleman that's emceeing this for some questions and answers. Is that fair, John? I can't hear anybody at this point. I know that we had some technical challenges when we were going through this, and so if we don't connect by the moderators, what I would encourage you all to do is to email any questions you have to your section, and they'll get them to me, and I'll respond to each one of your emails, or each one of your questions along the way. Do we have
Dawes,
any of the moderators? Yeah, there you are.
Yep, we have 2 questions on here. The first one is, how many hours might it take to complete each of the 10 elective learning courses?
Oh, I think you can complete each of those in 20 to 30 minutes. It just depends on how invested you are in the elective that you took and how much you dig into the course itself. But if you just let it play, we don't have any courses on our online library that are greater than 30 minutes, and that was on purpose. So 30 minutes per course.
30 minutes per course, perfect. And then one more question was, what's a capstone? Can you get into that a little bit more?
Yeah, it's the test at the end. It's a fancy way to say there's a test at the end, but it's very applied. Just so everybody can hear, we used to do a knowledge test much like you would do in the PGM program or in your college days. And what we found out was that our adult learners don't do well online with knowledge tests. And so instead what we did was we just said, we'll put together a reflective paper, a capstone that basically encapsulates all of the learning and then allows the audience to say, here's how I would apply it, here's how I have applied it. Everybody's at different stages of their career, so we want to leave that more open, and here's how I benefited from it. So it's about taking the coursework that you were exposed to and then showcasing in this very summarized paper of no more than 8 pages double-spaced, which is essentially a 4 to 5 page document. What did you learn? How did you benefit? How would you apply it? If you couldn't apply it, what would you expect to have happen? And, you know, how did this improve your personal and professional performance along the way?
Wonderful.
And I should
right.
say, I'd say one more thing, just not to cut you off, but the progression behind the specialized program, the certified program, and the master professional program was very deliberate. All the work that you do in specialize in the career track lends itself to the criteria required in certification. The combination of those two efforts fold right into the master professional program should you meet all the criteria and qualifications to get in there. So the work that you do each and every step of the way doesn't get lost, and it all builds upon each other along the way. So when you get to the final level, you really begin to build your argument in a very specialized, very succinct way that really speaks to all the achievements that particular candidate would have.
A lot of really good insights there, Dawes. Thank you so much for spending the time with us today. On behalf of the SCPGA Communications Committee, we appreciate you taking the time to be a part of this GoToWebinar session. At this point, that concludes the GoToWebinar. We will send out a short quiz to everyone in attendance, and which point you will send in to receive your 1 MSR credit.
Thank you.
All righty, Dawes, thank you so much. You have a great day. Take care, everybody.
You too. Bye-bye.